All right, you priests come film promoters. It's time to dust off your starter jackets, rip off those tearaways, and blow into your game cartridges. I'm Sam Blandford.
I'm Simon Blandford, and we wish it was the 90s.
Just a two-man today.
Mmm.
First two-man podcast ever in Wish It Was the 90s history.
If we survive the podcast without getting into big arguments, I think that's a success.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll probably be a short one. We don't have Sean on today, so that immediately cuts down the time that we're going to be talking for. But I'll do a bit of a riff on the socials, seeing as Sean's not here today. WIWT90S on Instagram, TikTok. You can find us on YouTube. We've been going crazy on YouTube views lately. Facebook page. We've got a Lomus tournament coming up Friday, June the 30th. That will be held in Wellington. If you are interested, hit us up on the socials somehow, or you're probably just our mate, so just give us a text. But today, dear listeners, we had to squeeze in another This Week On, because it seems like all the shows go on a bit of a hiatus over summer, or the American summer. So not many shows have episodes that go through May, June, July. And after a raging YouTube view success, we are going back to the well with Father Ted.
Oh, yeah.
So this week on Father Ted in 1995, the third episode of the first season, The Passion of St Tibulus, aired. What were your thoughts on the episode first, Si?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and I think that what I talked about last time was one thing that I didn't like about the other episode, even though I thought it was a great one, was that you just didn't get random priests just dropping in. That was one of my favourite parts of Father Ted, and seeing Father Hernandez, and of course the infamous, fearsome Bishop Len Brennan was always a positive as far as the laughs are concerned, so thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it more than A Song for Europe, to be honest with you. Maybe I was a bit over A Song for Europe. I've watched that quite a few times.
Yeah.
I mean, I did miss Father Dick Byrne. But yeah, so we will. Simon's going to do a little plot summary for us. But if you haven't watched it, it's on YouTube. It's in the description below, linked in. It's early days of Father Ted, but still very, very funny. Do you want to hit us with a plot summary, Si?
Yeah, so the aforementioned fearsome Bishop Brennan drops by the Craggy Island parochial house in order to task Ted and Dougal with picketing, protesting a new film, The Passion of St Tibulus. After a night gossiping with Father Hernandez, who's from Cuba, over the longest game of Cluedo in history, Ted and Dougal find themselves bullied into being moral crusaders by Bishop Brennan with predictably disastrous results. His Holiness has banned the blasphemous nudie film The Passion of St Tibulus, but due to a legal loophole, which is, by the way, completely unexplained, Craggy Island is the only place in the Catholic world that can show the film. The bishop now wants Ted to launch a public protest that will make the church's disapproval crystal clear. After a research trip to see the film, Dougal is confused by what St Tibulus was doing with that man's banana, but not as confused as Bishop Brennan when he realises that Ted's protest has given the film a massive publicity boost. The outraged bishop is about to send the priests off to very far-flung parishes as a punishment, until Jack discovers a highly incriminating video of the bishop with his mistress and illegitimate son on a recent trip to California.
So excuse my ignorance.
Yep.
But I think this is correct. So priests and nuns are not supposed to have partners or
Correct.
Have children.
They take a vow of celibacy.
What percentage of priests and nuns keep that vow, you reckon?
I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. No clue. But Bishop Len Brennan apparently did not.
Yeah, he was good. Len Brennan was good. Best bit, Simon. We'll just go back and forth, eh?
Yeah, the first scenes with Hernandez were just classic, absurd, surreal Father Ted humour. So
Yeah,
the
it was
fact
weird, eh?
that it's so weird and wonderful and ballsy to do that in your third episode ever. But the fact that he's Cuban and obviously they can't speak Spanish and he can't speak English, but they somehow understand every word that each other says, despite the fact they're speaking in Spanish and English.
I was real confused when the translator came on initially. I was like, "Oh, this is going to be terrible," but it got funnier and funnier.
Yeah, and I think why it was funny was because he translated things that didn't need to be translated.
Yeah,
It's a craggy island, and then the translator would just say, "Craggy island."
At one point, the translator's like, "Yes, I, my friend."
Yeah, so that was a good start, and Ted also saying that he misses the bright lights of the big city. To which Father Hernandez said, "Oh, where were you last? Wexford, which has a population of 20,000."
I like the bit. I was cracking up when it was. They kept asking Father Jack questions. He's like, "What? What? What?" And he's like, real low voice, "Father, would you like a glass of brandy?" "Yes."
I didn't realise
very clearly
until that part that Father Jack was actually just like my kids. Like, actually has no ears whatsoever. And then as soon as you say, if you want chocolate or a lolly, yep, absolutely, yes. Whereas you could say, put that down 10 times in a row and there's no reaction. And that's just like Father Jack where alcohol is concerned, apparently.
Yes, please.
I also, just on that absurd humour front, which I thought was so well done in that Father Hernandez scene when he's trying to describe, Father Ted's trying to describe the beauty of Craggy Island and says that the west side of the island just drifted off. And now there's just north, south and east. But when it was there, it was absolutely beautiful.
The direness of Craggy Island is obviously shown at the start, with the starting scene. But shit, it's good. Didn't what's his name? Len Brennan called Craggy Island a god-forsaken dump at one point.
And before we move on from Cluedo, when Father Hernandez, during Cluedo, says that it was Reverend Green with a knife in the dining room, I like Father Ted saying, "Those Protestants up to no good as usual." To which Dougal does a great cheesy laugh. So that was great as well. So yeah, that whole Cluedo scene was an absolute winner.
Yeah, Dougal didn't quite hit his straps, as I talked about with Sean last time. I was kind of looking forward for Sean to be on to see what he thought of a second episode. Dougal just didn't quite hit the mark for me again. Speaking, what the fuck was up with the wallpaper behind Jack's head?
How gross it is.
It's disgusting. It's all mottled.
Yeah, I think it's just supposed to like show us how, in general, hideous and disgusting and unclean and dirty Father Jack and everything around him is. But I
don't remember that. I don't remember that from last time.
On the Dougal front, I thought he was better in this one, though. When Ted's imploring him not to mention the sun, it's pretty funny. And then when Len Brennan sits down and Dougal's just staring at him like an absolute idiot for about 30 seconds, and you just know the question about his son is coming. You're just waiting for it. And then when it does come, and Ted, how's your son?
Yeah.
Ted, the Son of God. How's everything in religion? And I just think, just talking about the last episode we watched, I think Ted's nervousness and like sycophantic behaviour around figures of authority is just a great running gag throughout all 3 seasons. Any time he's in any semblance of trouble with the bishop or anything, him just sucking up to them is really, really funny, and his high pitched laugh and panic is great.
Yeah, there's heaps of high pitched laughter and that like Mrs. Doyle was terrible. That was a bad Mrs. Doyle cameo in that. Calling him the piggy in the middle, I was like, oh, Mrs.
Yeah,
Doyle, leave the room.
that wasn't good from your MVP or best supporting actor from last time.
No, poor. I love the woman in the theatre
Oh God,
who is
yes.
just
Tell us about her. She was so fantastic.
absolutely disgusted that it's subtitled and not dubbed. And the usher, I don't know if he's the usher, but is it just the same actor as
Yep,
the guy
definitely.
who's pissed up in the last one, or is it the same guy doing a different job?
Oh, good question. I think it's just the same actor. I don't think it's supposed to be the same character. I think it is the same actor. But yeah, that lady when he tells her it's subtitled, oh Jesus, storms out. I think that what I wrote down about that was that something we've talked about on The Simpsons is how there is any excuse. In a normal average show, the important part, the punchline is Dougal and Ted organising the protest with the film Usher, but they're just willing to just chuck any gag at all. That the subtitles or dubbed part, like there's no point to it. It doesn't really move the plot along, but it's just a funny observation about ignorant people that like won't watch anything in subtitles, and not only will they not watch it, they're like morally outraged that how dare you make me read something while I'm watching a movie. I just thought that was brilliant.
And would prefer to watch it dubbed.
Yeah.
Dub's awful.
Yeah, whenever I found out someone had watched Squid Game dubbed and not on subtitles, I just immediately went down in my estimations.
Yeah. And the ushers back and forth with Ted and Dougal, who he's obviously matey with, is quite funny too.
Yeah, it's really good. If you haven't watched it, by the way, at this stage, then it's a thoroughly boring podcast. But I would recommend watching it because it's really, really good. Also on that theatre scene, we did find out that Father Jack's a big Sharon Stone fan. Hasn't seen Father Jack since our Sharon Stone season, which I thought was very good. And the widowers who go to the cinema, the widower who goes to the cinema 2 hours after his wife has died.
Oh yeah,
it's real funny.
Going back to the theatre, sorry, they just start booing, and the usher goes, "Who is that?" And there's 3 people in the cinema. Speaking of the 90s, there was a pop-up of obviously the VHS recorder that Father Hernandez got them. And then
great.
Later the red VHS, very 90s.
Yeah, I don't remember owning any red VHSs.
Yeah, that's because pornos were red VHSs. And we were not 18 when we were in the 90s.
Oh, they were behind the old back doors at United Video. The old
With not doors.
Those were they those things that fell down from the ceiling?
Yeah, it was like dairies had them too. They were just like bits of ribbon that you used to like
plastic ribbon.
Yeah, that used to go through.
Waved in the wind.
I said it at the start, but when they get called priests come film promoters, why do they keep saying film? Is that just like an Irish thing?
Yeah, it's just how if you've got a strong Irish accent, I'm guessing you pronounce film. Len's, I keep calling him Len because there's another episode where it's kicking Bishop Brennan up the arse the whole time. Bishop Brennan keeps telling Dougal not to call him Len, but Dougal just calls him Len over and over again. So I did like Len's nicknames for Dougal when he said, "This cabbage," and the other nickname he gives him is Forrest Gump, which I thought was wonderful because he is a cabbage and he is Forrest Gump, and he proves that when Len's telling him off and Dougal says, "Oh, you're right there, Your Honor." I thought it was not Dougal's strongest episode, but I thought it was you saw some of the glimpses of what they make Dougal become in season 2.
Yeah, no, that's fair. My last bit that I've written down here is at the end when watching that clip, the video of Len. Their faces are all fantastic, but when Ted's like, "We'll watch it again," and it cuts to Jack, and he's like smiling at the camera and just like points the remote at the TV. Absolute gold.
Shout out to Bishop Len Brennan's jump. Like, it's like a Nike tracksuit in that video. Really, really height of fashion in the 90s.
Very 90s. It was a very odd video as well.
Yeah.
Well, me, when I saw red VHS, and then I knew it was Father Brennan's.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was expecting to come on that TV.
I definitely have seen the episode many times, so I didn't have the same thought.
What was up with the? Oh, any more best bits?
No.
I've got a question. What's up with the? I found it funny, but I don't quite know why. When it was like down with this sort of thing and careful now on the signs, protest signs.
Oh, well, funny you mention that. That's a nice segue into the legacy of the episode.
Oh.
Because those signs have become quite famous. And I actually don't know the answer to your question, to be honest. I just think it was just, classic, absurd Father Ted humour.
Oh, okay.
What even does that mean, Careful now, down with this sort of thing. I think down with this sort of thing, they're not actually, it's sort of taking the piss in the sense that, they don't want to use the real terms of pornography or whatever it is, so they just call it this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's probably one of the most recognised jokes of the show. And if you see any big protests, there's a very, very good chance you will see the two signs, careful now and down with this sort of thing. In the 2013 video game Grand Theft Auto 5, there is a protester that is seen carrying a down with this sort of thing sign.
Oh, wow.
Green Party leader in the UK, John Gormley, in 2010 described his view that the Labour Party had few or no policies and accused the Labour Party of just saying down with this sort of thing without providing any alternative or a policy. And during a number of high-profile UK protests throughout the Pope's state visit in September of 2010 and student protests against tuition fee rises in 2010, as well as protests against Irish EU bailout and austerity measures, several protesters displayed banners saying, down with this sort of thing and careful now. So they've become very, very famous signs.
We should have taken those to the teacher strike at Parliament.
Oh, they were definitely at the teacher strike, whatever the last one was before this one. And a few other, if I may say a few other interesting things about the episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was basically a piss take of the Catholic Church's opposition to blasphemous films, because they actually have done this in real life many times. Many films I won't name because there are so many, but one of them was Monty Python's Life of Brian. And it was banned in Ireland upon its release. So Graham Linehan, the creator, actually joined a film club specifically to get a chance to watch Monty Python's Life of Brian. One of the early ideas for the series, which is quite funny, was that every priest in the world knows every other priest personally, which is introduced in the opening scene with Cuba's Father Hernandez. And when Hernandez speaks in Spanish, he's clumsily dubbed over by an English translator, which the Craggy Islanders can inexplicably hear and understand. Which I thought, which I touched on earlier, but there's no rhyme or reason for that, and it sort of adds to the absurdity of it, which I quite like.
So when I saw that the episode was called The Passion of St Tibulus, and then they were protesting about it, I was like, oh, when did The Passion of the Christ come out?
Oh, yeah, much later.
Yeah, like 10 years later. So, I don't know whether you call that foreshadowing or I don't know.
No. No, there's the Passion is like it's quite a lot of things like that within Catholicism.
I'm completely ignorant.
Yeah, me too, just slightly less so.
We needed Pat and Sean on here. MVP of the episode?
Yeah, I hadn't actually thought about this, but I do have two very clear candidates. So I think for me, the MVP is actually going to be Bishop Len Brennan.
Mm.
His performance every single time he is on it is absolutely brilliant. The aforementioned kicking Bishop Brennan up the arse is a wonderful episode. Just how nervous he makes Ted, and then the reactions that come from that from Ted. Dougal being completely oblivious to how important he is. And just his nicknames for Dougal, him just bagging Craggy Island. Bishop Len Brennan for me is the MVP.
He's so aggressive, eh?
Oh, angry man.
So I'm going to go a different route to you. I thought this character barely showed up in the last episode we did, but MVP for me was Jack.
Nice.
I thought I lolled every time Jack was on screen, and I think probably my favourite bit was when he was going, "What?" and then he got asked for the brandy, and the rewinding the tape at the end, just fantastic. And I reckon I got a different supporting actor to you, but you go first.
Maybe because I'm biased because I love the Cluedo scenes, but I thought Father Hernandez gets my supporting actor because I think he's fixed that category the best, and he was very, very funny. The recorder, the VHS recorder, was a funny gift, and how he was complaining about how their very primitive technologies in Cuba, it only has 180 minutes of recording time or whatever that was quite funny. And the fertility symbol that he gave Ted was also hilarious. So Hernandez for me.
Real good when Ted knocks that off the TV and like acts all calm. Not far away from my supporting actor, but my supporting actor was the translator.
Oh, nice. Very funny.
As I said, I thought I thought this was going to be bad when the translator first started, but just got funnier and funnier, and the fact that the translator was translating things that did not need translating, was even better. Mrs. Doyle didn't get a look in.
Fall from grace for Mrs. Doyle.
No. So upcoming, what do we got upcoming? We have, I think...
opportunities, really.
I think there's another Mortal Kombat. I think there's a second Mortal Kombat movie or something that we've got a few big fans coming on for. I will not be coming back for another Mortal Kombat go. And we're also looking at doing 10 Things I Hate About You. Famous 90s film, classic Heath Ledger. And I think we'll get a wider range of an audience for that one, maybe. Maybe a few females might listen.
Yeah. I don't give a damn about Reputation. What a film that is. Still studied, I think, on various high schools throughout New Zealand, and people still swoon at Heath Ledger.
What's that? I'm looking forward to going to Bogey Lowenstein's party. But no, that's it from us. So enjoy, have a good one. See you again next time.
Cheers.